it's a rather hypothetical question. If someone gives you a contract, so you've been offered a job, and someone gives you a contract, let's just say for argument's sake the rate is £100 a day, and someone put £1,000 a day, is the person who gives you the contract, are they liable to hold up that end of the contract? That is the question.
Do both sides know it's a mistake and agree it's a mistake?
I know it's a mistake, but maybe they don't. I'm not sure.
Who are you, the employer or the employee?
Employee.
OK, and do you think the employer is actually going to pay you £1,000 a day?
Probably not, no.
Probably not. I think they'll realise it's a mistake as well pretty quickly. Contracts are generally binding. What's written down is what happens and what both sides are obliged to do. I'm assuming it's a signed contract, Chris.
Yeah, if it was signed, are they not obliged to hold that up, even if that was a mistake?
Well, there's a process called rectification, which is a bit of a long word, but what it means is that either if both sides agree it's a mistake, or if there is strong evidence that it was a mistake, and I would have thought it's not going to be very hard to prove it if the job advert or the earlier correspondence refers to £100 rather than £1,000 a day, or if the going rate for that job is £100 a day, it's not going to be very hard to prove it's a mistake, then the contract will be rectified, which means a judge will say, I'm going to put that right and reflect what the parties actually intended. Equally, Chris, if I was your employer and I offered you a job on £100 a day and mistakenly put an extra zero in the contract, and you came along and said, ha ha ha, I want £1,000 a day because you signed it, mate, and you've got to do what you sign. I'd say, yeah, I do, Chris, and under the contract I'm entitled to give you, precisely 0 weeks notice in your probationary period. See ya. How would that feel?
Okay. No, I can see your point.